Hey guys. Okay, so I apologize for doing another video, another stream, but I did a whole upload and the camera on my phone, the mic was not on, and that happens all the time. And I was I'm frustrated. I don't want to have to do videos all over again. And I know you're looking at a black screen. Just hold on a second. Um, I didn't want to do the upload all over again, so I figured I would just go live and get it done and over with in one fell swoop. It might kill my algorithm. I might delete it and end up doing it as an upload anyways. I don't know. But let me go ahead and go through what I wanted to show you because part of it is what God told me. And ironically, it has to do with this subject that I've been wanting to share with you for now. All right. Now, I don't know how I can do this in a toggle way on this screen, but I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures here, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along. You won't need a lot of side by sides, right? Like I should just be able to go back and forth and you should be able to see it or not see it. So I knew something was up a couple of years ago, probably the last time we drove on the county lines, when I saw all the corn had stakes in it and had names in it. And some of those names were companies that Bill Gates is directly involved in. And we know he's also into genetics, and his parents were into genetics, and that's how he was raised. And he has nothing against, you know, exploiting people because of their DNA or genes or experimenting on people because of that. So when I saw his companies on our local corn, of course, I grew suspicious and a bit upset. Then the other day, I got to thinking and I was like, you know what? He really looks like this other guy. And I'm like, I'm going to look this up. So again, I just did a whole upload video, but the mic was not on. And I'm not used to Apple. It is constantly turning my mic off. And so I apologize for another live stream, but it's easier for me to do it this way instead of trying to record over and over or waiting for it to upload and all that jazz. I still might do it as a separate upload if nobody sees this because the last bit of this is kind of important and it will be quick. So let me get to it. So this guy, I'm going to show you another guy now, and I just keep his mind in your face, and we're going to go to someone else. Him. Do Mike DeWine and Bill Gates not look almost like brothers? I know there's some differences there, and I know there are only so many face shapes, and only, I've heard all that. I've been around for a while. I get it. I'm an artist. I can draw, if given the time, almost anybody's face, though. Okay. Um, which one are you looking at now, Gates? Let me take you back. Now we're gonna look at this Gates, because here he's a little more humble. He's got his little sweater on. He's got almost a smile. And then you see Mike DeWine. Oh, I'm just a little harmless guy. Not doing anything wrong here. I'm not here to hurt nobody or do anything. They look almost exactly like the same person. And I'll go even one further. In their couples, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, she looks more, if you look at bone structure and height and all that, she looks more masculine. And Gates himself, Bill, looks more feminine. So again, I don't know what's going on here, but these two look a lot alike, the nose especially, and the hair part. And again, I know as people age, things change. We all look kind of similar. We come from the same maker. I'm not negating any of that. I'm saying, as usual, there is something going on with these people. They're all like related in the same cults and seem to share some type of DNA. Now I'm gonna segue into something else here. This is the second part of this video. I was at the sink talking to God. I was doing dishes and I was mentally, sorting things out in my mind, kind of praying for a couple of people. And I had a video, a friend of the channel, I checked out her playlist, and it was really cool. There was a science and technology one, and I saved it so you guys can find it. So in this science and technology playlist, I had seen something on the carbon nanotubing. Now, carbon nanotubing can be used in DNA helixes, and splicing DNA, which means basically blending two different types of DNA. When you splice something, you can splice a video. tape, you can splice a cassette tape, you can splice DNA. It means basically you're cutting it, but where you're cutting it, you're then bonding back those two parts with something else. You're cutting something out and putting two parts back together. Tape with tape, glue, whatever you use. You have to have a binder, right? The binder, guys, is protein. Now, listen to me clearly. I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. We are doing our research and we are being good citizens by doing our due diligence. This is expected of us by our government to take care of ourselves. So, I am not giving medical advice here. I am going on years of research and what they themselves tell us, sort of, and by my own experiences. But God led me to this because I didn't know what this was. So I was talking to God about these beings, right? The Aryan race, whatever you want to call them, the ones that have the angel DNA with the real shiny blue eyes, but they're all very cruel beings. Um, I was talking to God and I was like, why do they want us? Like why do they care about us? Don't they like to keep their bloodlines pure? That's why you see incest is to keep the bloodlines pure and to keep the power in one family. And by power, I don't mean necessarily lands, gold, and treasures. I mean power as in the abilities that follow you genetically through DNA. Okay? Follow me here because my mom had some of the same abilities that I have, only I'm not using them the way she did, and I'm glad to say that I'm not. Anyways, moving on. And she never told me. They don't come out and tell you, hey, I can do this, that. It just is a part of your life. It's just how they are, right? And once I started coming into my thing, I don't know, older women fear younger women, it seems. I don't fear the younger ones. I want to embrace them and give them the love and mentorship that I didn't have. But regardless, I asked God, I said, why do they do this? And sometimes what families will do, for whatever reason, money, wealth, land, power, they will take two siblings and they will raise them separately so that they're not raised as siblings, so they don't see each other as brother and sister, and they will have them to in an arranged marriage so that they can keep the estate and the treasure and the inheritance and the DNA abilities all in one family. Now follow me here. Because I told you I'm getting a little weirded out by how much my husband, as he ages, resembles my mother. And it's really bothersome at this point because of all the things that are going on in my life. It's very possible God is telling me to get out of this situation because they're workers of iniquity. I thought he wanted me standing in the way, but I could be wrong about that. Um, but I do believe that God talks to each and every one of us. So I'm standing at the sink asking him, why do they need us then if they want to keep their bloodlines pure? Why do they come to us? And God gave me two words, and God's like this with me. God will use words because I'll say, God, give me a word, and I'll literally get one word. God has a sense of humor. So I didn't ask him for a word this time, but he gave me one anyway. I said, God, why do they do this with our DNA? Why do they come to us? Why don't they just leave us alone? And God gave me two words. He said, DNA collapse. And I said, well, what does that mean? You know what you do? Look it up. Learn, research, study to show yourself approved. So I did what a good girl does, and I followed that spiritual lead, and I looked up DNA collapse. Now, hear me, folks. This doesn't affect just them. This affects us too. And I've told you for months now, though I'm not a doctor, this is not medical advice. I firmly believe we have been lied to about everything. We have to turn it all on its head. And they tell us proteins are the building blocks of life. And it seems like in this day and age, proteins are the building blocks of death. It's the opposite of what they've told us. Because what binds to DNA? Proteins. So let's read this. DNA collapse can refer to either physical compaction of DNA strands or a phenomenon in genetic genealogy called pedigree collapse. In physical science, DNA collapse refers to the process where DNA strands condense, meaning make smaller, or fold into more compact structures, often triggered by external forces like electrical fields or the presence of specific chemicals. So if you have both of those, if you have electrical fields, because this is an electric um, realm, and we are electric beings, we are water and electric. That's why I wonder about what they say about being electrocuted. Well, if we're made of water and we're made of electricity, we're not constantly being electrocuted, right? But it's all about frequency. It's all about how high that current is flowing and how fast it's flowing and the strength behind it. Now, this is I'm a very much a layman at this stuff. Okay, but just follow me here. In genetic genealogy, pedigree collapse describes a situation where multiple instances of the same ancestors appear in a family tree, often due to repeated marriages between relatives. Multiple instances of the same ancestors appear in a family tree, often due to repeated marriages between relatives. That's meaning like good old Uncle Fred. He's not just your uncle up here, he ends up being your half cousin down here because he married this person and now he's married to this sister or, something of that nature. Ooh, that's complicated. DNA collapse. Condensation of DNA, which is normally a long extended molecule, can be forced to collapse or condense into smaller structures. Now, how do you do this? How does this happen? We basically read that right there. Um, but we're gonna go one further. Again, this is not gonna be long. I'm only doing this because my phone didn't record the video right that I recorded for an upload. Now check this out because again, this affects all of us and 5G and what they've put in our air. So DNA replication forks are stalled for too long, they can collapse, leading to double strand breaks, which can be repaired or lead to genome instability. Now, a DNA collapse, keep this in mind. What does that remind you of? Daniel's prophecy. That metal, I forget what it says, and dust or whatever and the earth, dust of the earth cannot blend, cannot mix. Basically, what Daniel's prophecy says is that man and machine transhumanism cannot happen because they will be literally pulled apart by their own DNA. And this is not a pretty picture. You can go to like one of the movies of Marvel. I think it's Marvel, it might be DC Comics. They have a character who experiences this. And this is what you'll see oftentimes in like scary movies when they do stories about skinwalkers because they are shapeshifters. And again, I'm using this alleged fictional reference to describe something very literal in our world. Okay. So I'm not saying these things are real. I think they are and they can be. The science is right here. Now, for example, in stories where you hear stories about like this person changing shape too many times and their body couldn't keep up, so they just ended up like in this sludge. I forget what character it is, but that does happen to one of them. And I don't remember if it's Marvel or DC. If somebody knows, put it in the comments for us and help us out because I don't remember. But it's a very good visual example of what this description is, what this definition is telling us. Okay. So replication fork collapse is the point where DNA strands are separated and new strands are synthesized. If replication forks encounter obstacles like DNA damage or stalled replication, they can become unstable and collapse. Now, think of that. What does that mean when every cell in your body decides it's done? I'll go one further. I did a video a while back that I'll put in the comments here if you're interested. I did a video on the definition of apostate. Apostate is not just a biblical term. Apostate is a medical term, and apostate means cell death. So when the Bible, again, every verse means more than one thing. We are in the end times, and we know it when we dig a little deeper into these things. Okay? We are experiencing we're about to see people experience Daniel's prophecy. This is what is wrong with some of the celebrities. I'm convinced they can't hold their shape any longer. They can't hold that shape. Now, I don't know if they were always acting as these celebrities or if they just now took their places. I don't know. But I do know that their faces are constantly changing and they can blame AI all they want. And you have to understand that they're using AI against you in that way too. They want you to not believe anything you see. They don't want you to believe your own eyes in real life or on the screen. All right? This is why you have to study so that you know what they're showing you and what you're looking at. And sometimes you have to study the ways of the enemy and you cannot be scared when you do that. Collapse replication forks can be repaired through processes like break-induced replication, but this can also lead to errors and genomic instability. External factors, this is where you need to pay attention. Confinement stretched DNA can collapse when exposed to alternating electric fields. Gee, you mean like having routers in every house and microwaves and what else? Computers, screens, LCD screens, plasma screens, kind of like that. Other damaging agents, UV radiation, right? I don't have to say no more about that, do I? Chemicals. I've told you about our products, that they're all compromised too. You have to be very, very careful. A lot of people, this is why do you think celebrities are walking around without makeup and not washing their hair? It's not because they're virtue signaling. It's because they know. They know it's certain, they know when something's good, they know when it's bad, they know ahead of time. They already know that this stuff was done. Oh, Kenny Michelle made it to a live. Was hoping you were here. My comments will have to come later, though. I have to clean this refrigerator before my son comes back. Oh my, I don't envy you. I clean out the front, but they're men. Somebody else is gonna have to pull it out of the wall for me because I can't do that. Channel name '01 Michael B. I'm glad I made it to a live. I am too. This was not gonna be live. But my phone was doing what phones do, and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and record that all over again. I'll just go live, get it over with in one fell swoop. So, UV radiation and chemicals and electrical forces outside of yourself can damage the DNA inside of yourself. Now, let me bring a warning to this. It's up to you what you accept, receive, and believe, okay? I believe that God's protection, that I have a shield around me. All right? Nothing can get through that unless He allows it. And I don't think He's going to allow it in this time, or I'd be done already. I'd be deceased. I'd been dead several times over. So my spouse saying, "You wouldn't be here if they wanted you gone. You'd be gone already." Would I? Really? No, I wouldn't. I just doesn't work that way. Other causes, SSBs, can the single strand break now can be caused by various factors, including oxidative stress. Okay, that's oxidation of the cells, metabolism, your own body, right? And environmental factors. So your metabolism is key. Gut health is key. I use a lot of mushroom tinctures these days, a lot of lion's mane and reishi mushroom, and I'm trying more Morgana now. Morgan, I forget what it's called, but I'm trying that now as well. I've added that. I went several months without it because money's tight or whatever, but I don't mind giving it to small artisans and small businesses that are just trying to stay alive. DNA damage can cause replication stress, leading to stalled forks and eventual collapse. So, the DNA damage itself, it's like a domino effect. The DNA damage that's being caused by an external factor, for example, UV rays or something. Okay, imagine that that's already causing your DNA damage. Well, because of that damage caused by an external factor, it's going to stall and it's going to cause a domino effect. The other cells around it will then go apostate. And again, I will include that video in the comments below because it is related and it's very interesting to see when medical terminology and biblical terminology kind of coincides like that. Apostate doesn't just mean somebody who falls away from the church. Apostate means cell death. Okay. DNA damage. UV light, chemicals, and radiation can damage DNA, causing various lesions and potentially leading to replication stress and fork collapse. There it is right there, cell death. In severe cases, DNA damage and fork collapse can trigger cell death mechanisms. Mutations, errors during repair of collapsed forks can introduce mutations. So you see how one little thing can lead to this domino effect of you ending up like that comic character and just being a primordial goop and soup on the floor. And like I said, this reminds me of chimeras and skinwalkers. We're gonna see some of this happen, and they're gonna blame other things, like they always do. Oh, pray for them. You should feel sorry for them. You should pray blessings upon them. And I'm not saying you shouldn't pray for them, but again, these beings, some of them knew what they know what they're doing to us, right? And I told you earlier, they're doing it to us because they believe this is what God did to them. So they're trying to get us back because again, they can't have children of their own. All right. And I forget what I said in this video already and what I said in the one that didn't want to record. That's so frustrating when that happens. Okay, now I'm going to go to one more thing and then I'm going to end this video because I want it to be user-friendly and accessible. Now, when I looked it up on my phone, I of course got a different answer and I want to read that to you real quick. Okay, so just give me a second. I'm going to punch it in because it mentions protein here. Okay, so I want to make sure. Hold, please. Just give me a moment. Um, I'm going to punch in DNA collapse and protein because, of course, 10 minutes later, man, you get a whole completely different answer. DNA and protein collapse. See, here's the thing, that the protein is a binder. It binds to the DNA. That's the problem itself. Protein DNA interactions, protein DNA roadblocks. Proteins that bind to DNA, especially at replication forks, can hinder the process of the replication machinery, leading to fork collapse. Not all protein is the same and it's not all good for us. If they tell us it's the building blocks of life, chances are it's the building block of death. I'm not even kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. I'm a nobody. But I see through their BS at this point. Replication protein interactions between different replication proteins, can also disrupt the normal functioning of the replication machinery and contribute to fork collapse. Because what happens is your cells are supposed to reproduce all the time, right? Go forth and reproduce. The Bible is more than just a religious book. It's more than just a history of man. It is also a farming manual. It tells you about all the different seasons. It tells you about the stars in the sky. It tells you about your own body. The Bible talks about apostate. This is where we get all of our language. This is why they want to destroy our language. The Bible is at the root of all of this. All you got to do is follow the real trails. And money is not what you follow here. It's not about money. Never has been about money for these people. They're not that stupid either to leave a trail for you to follow. This is why they communicate through messages in the mainstream media and sports scores and sports games and sporting events. All these guys know that stuff's fake. There's a reason they look at the scores every day. My husband used to write everything down, and then he had a notebook of it. I'm like, what are you, a bookie now? No, that's not what I'm writing. And that wasn't what he was writing. He was writing down all of the scores that they had already scored, like all of the games that were already done. Like, why are you doing that? You have it right there in the paper beside you. Why are you writing it all down? Because he had to it's messages. It's messages. These people networked when they were younger. The parents sent them all over to different places, parts of different clubs. Like, people just don't get it. Oh, there can't be any such thing as a worldwide conspiracy. Can't there? Santa Claus. That's worldwide. We lie about it every year to everyone under the age of 10. That's a worldwide conspiracy. So tell me again that worldwide conspiracies don't exist and that they're impossible, because I will point you to that fat dude in the red suit. And I'm feeling less than charitable. I'm not even going to lie about it. Kelly Michelle, people always gloss over the power of the Holy Spirit. He's definitely keeping us like he said he would in spite of these sinister forces. Absolutely. Like I said, I'd be deceased by now. Several times. They took my appendix when I was little. It burst inside of me. And again, especially to a child, disease does not come without some type of transgression being done against that other person. They are transgressing, for example, they are transgressing against us by putting these things in our air, food, and water without asking us, without telling us. And they tell us, but what else do they tell us? We have millions of other things to keep track of every day. This is the reason for the distraction. They don't want you to know your own body. They don't want you to know what or who you are. They don't want you to know where you are. And they want to do everything to us that they believe is God is doing to them. Guess what? Your DNA is collapsing because you were never meant to exist. Blame your parents or bow down to the one true God. Hit your knees. And I'm not saying that God is some narcissistic being that wants us to constantly be kissing his feet. That's not what it's about. It's an act of symbolically you're saying, I surrender, because God is above you, right? So imagine somebody, what power does it take for you to hit your knees and be like, Uncle, I'm done, enough, I've had enough. That is a beautiful moment in somebody's life. It's not about God getting praise. It's about you recognizing you need God. Okay? God is not a narcissist. And I will get angry about people misrepresenting him in Christ. Christ would have never been a gun toter. But you have all these Christians, and I know you lose viewers. I know it. It's okay. It is your Second Amendment right, and I do believe in the right of defending oneself. I myself am a pacifist. That's what I choose because of the people around me. I believe that having a weapon like that gives them spiritual license. If, for example, if I get one of those things in my house, right, and something happens, and I'm taken up on my judgment day, and I tell God, well, this happened to me, and I didn't do anything to deserve it. You know what God's going to say? You gave it license to enter your home and your life by having it in your home. You consented to violence, the spirit of violence, entering your home. Why do you think they want so many people to have renter's insurance? It's not about you being protected. It's about you believing, accepting, and receiving the possibility that you will get robbed or somebody will invade your home. I know it because of the clues that were dropped around me. I tell you all the time, insurance is a scam, but it's a spiritual scam. The old wives' tale used to be that the devil comes knocking at your door in a suit and tie trying to sell you something. That's why I can't believe Protestants walk around in those suits and ties. Man, you're not at work. It's not a business. You're here to worship and talk about the one true God. You don't need to be in a suit. That's not your best dressed Sunday. That's not it. That's not what was meant by that. Come on now. People used to never trust somebody in a suit because they knew they were liars. They were too slick. It didn't matter how clean cut they were. They were smarmy, greasy, like pirates, man. Everyone says, oh, you have no street smarts. No, I'm just always been forgiving, right? Just because I don't speak about something doesn't mean I don't know what happened. It just means I'm not going to go that route of anger and retribution. Okay, so intrinsic cellular processes, normal cellular processes, so DNA replication and transcription, that is a normal process. It can generate DNA damage and create conditions that can lead to fork collapse. Now, let me add to that because that's not exactly true. They're when this AI gives you a summary, they're going more in depth with what they gave you up here. Just like I said, the second one cell is mutated, it can affect all the others. Now, will it? I don't know. It doesn't for everybody, but for these other beings, again, they hit a certain age or they do a certain thing because they don't take care of their bodies at all. Most of them are gluttons, and I'm not lying. You could be as mad at me as you want. If you're not going to confess your sins, I will confess them for you. They're gluttons. The seven deadly. They don't get married because God wants you to marry. They do the other thing. I don't even know how to say that gently. Everything that's anti-God they do, and they do it well, and they do it on purpose because they want to offend him. They've been told that they cannot have salvation. They've been told that God hates them. That's how they were raised by their parents. I don't believe that. Because the Bible says all creatures who call upon God in their hour of need. And it says all creatures. Read the gospel to all creatures. Why should we do that? Why should we witness to all creatures? Why does it say that? So that's all of creation. Everything God created to, we should be proclaiming the gospel to. Why? Because everybody can be freed. Everybody. I believe that. Okay? So again, when I get to talking about these other beings, yes, I'm mad at them. Yes, I'm frustrated at them for what they've done in my life and my children's life. But does that mean I don't love them? No, because some of them were known to me as family. And because I genuinely love everybody. I love the world. I love people. I love dogs. I love animals. I love cats. I love cows. It's the one thing. It's my one redeemable factor that I have is my heart. Genetic defects, inherited or acquired defects in DNA repair mechanisms can increase the risk of DNA damage and replication fork collapse. And I told you at the beginning of CV what they were actually doing. They were looking for certain people because, hold on, they were looking for certain people because their DNA is starting to collapse. And again, this is what God just told me at the I'm looking for a specific here, okay? God told me at the kitchen counter just a little bit ago. That's the words he gave me. I said, "Why are they doing this? What is going on? Why do they?" And he says, "Cell collapse, DNA collapse." Okay, so this is the picture I want you to look at. Remember when I said turn the news down and don't listen to anything they tell you because all they do is lie with their lips? Their signs and symbols will be their downfall. This is a sign. This is a symbol. Today we call it a picture. But back in the day, they would have likely called any picture a sign or a symbol. Shall be their downfall. What were they actually doing when CV began in 2019? When have you ever had this test for what they're saying was going around in 2019? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. No part of this is advice. I'm doing my due diligence. I'll repeat it as many times as I need to. Does that look familiar to you? It should. I told you, none of this was ever about some plague. It's about them and their selfishness and the fact that their DNA is collapsing. Kelly said, I read that Satan started believing his own lies. That's the problem. And that's the problem with them, is that they genuinely, at this point, they're deluded. They think they can beat the maker. And don't they understand, just like in a vampire movie, let's say it was possible. When you kill the head vampire, what happens? All of its creations die. All of them. So if we can find the head of the snake, we can end all of this. However, I don't go that route. I go the route of consent and inheritance. This is my land. This land is your land. This land is my land. No, it's mine. I'm a human being. I know I am because God speaks to me within. I know I am because of how jealous they are of me because of that. This is my territory. It is my inheritance. Whatever dirt I walk upon, whatever dirt you walk upon is yours, is mine. Walk in that victory, friends, every day. Walk in that power because we have a beautiful God who loves us. He is a good father and he gave us this entire earth. It's ours. The only reason Satan runs it and they say he owns it is because we defaulted it to him. We have never once, in all the Bible stories I've read, never once has anyone stood up and said no. No. Just no. But I am. And I know I'm alone. And it's a hill I'll probably die on. If I have to die. And I'm okay with that. Because if it helps one person to understand that our maker is not some narcissistic, arrogant fool. That is not what our maker is. They think that and they want you to think it too. God loves us. We are beloved. All we have to do is say no to this stuff, and it stops. That's why I say the first step is reclaiming your free will. Don't allow your choice in life to be hijacked by what the TV screen tells you to do. Because there's every chance too that what we're watching happened before we were even born, that these people don't even exist in reality anymore. There's every how many episodes have they made of like the Outer Limits and the Twilight Zone about just that? I watched one and I can't find it anywhere because I can't remember the name. There's this boy and girl playing a computer game in the video or in the episode. And they're having fun and they're so into their game and they're in their house and this is what they do every day. And finally one day it quits working. And they don't realize they're being monitored by like AI, right? Realize they're the last two human beings on Earth. They did not realize they were the last two human beings on Earth because they were too busy talking to each other with a between them. In the end of the episode, they leave their house, realize they're only a few houses away from each other. Nobody else is around, and that's the end. I kind of think that it's kind of like that out there. There's nobody minding the store. There's no we are policing ourselves, and the screen is our daily dose of MK Ultra to keep us programmed to not rebel and not stand up and not, you know. But there's a way to peacefully resist, and this is what I'm talking about. The land you walk upon, anywhere you go, is yours. You can pray on it, you can pray above it, you can plead the blood of Christ on it, no matter where you go, friends. You walk in victory. That territory is yours. It is not Satan's. Do not give it over to him by believing that lie. All right? So I wanted to do this video to preface and to show you that God talks to me. God is a loving God, and I believe he talks to all of us, and he talks to you too. But are you listening to him? Some people call it the voice of source. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it a gut feeling. Some people call it your inner Jiminy Cricket, your conscience, the Holy Spirit within you. I actually believe at certain moments it's God putting a word in my heart. I don't hear him orally. I only heard God once orally, and I was coming out of a dream, so I don't know how reliable that is. Um, but what he told me was a good thing, so I kind of think it was him. The point of this video is to show you, number one, that we have a loving God. Number two, that apostate and all these different terms and terminologies that you see in the Bible have a bigger, greater meaning. Only God could have known that. Only God could have done that ahead of time, because all of our words and phrases and all of our laws are based in the Bible. This is why they want to do away with it. Think of a game of Jenga. You know, in Jenga, where you have to do that bottom base no matter what, you have to have 3 blocks on the bottom. Even if you have a table right there, you got to have those 3 blocks underneath. If you pull one of those out, the whole thing will fall over. If they can get us to say the Bible is corrupted or any of that, if they can get us to toss the Bible out, that makes everything else fall apart. In our society, this part of civilization is done anyway. But I'm really hoping I'm here for the part where everybody's ready to physically gather, because I have a feeling it's going to be like that Outer Limits show. I have a feeling we're going to end up seeing each other in real life and getting out there to see a little bit more of our country again and realize, wow, what happened? There's really not a lot of us left. All of the problems you're having on the roads is because the cars are driverless. That's why all the windows are tinted. Did you figure that part out yet? Wake up, friends, all the way. I love you guys. I'm sorry that this was live. I meant to do just a regular upload, but we will talk again soon, and I will read some more from that suffering story, possibly tonight, but probably tomorrow or the next day. I love you guys. Stay blessed. Bye.